Hello students, how are you all? I hope everyone fine. So in last video we completed application of first application of derivatives, which is derivative as a rate measure. So today we are going to learn the next application of derivatives here, or in this application we are going to learn how functions increases and decreases, or if the functions increases, how to identify using differentiation, if the functions decreasing, how to identify using differentiation. One very interesting concept, increasing decreasing meaning ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? So directly as it that same meaning we are using in mathematics. So we will start first defining what do you mean by increasing function mathematically, graphically, everything. Then using the definition of increasing function, I'm going to use the differentiation to check whether the function is increases or not. So let us begin the next application of derivative, which is increasing and decreasing function. So in this we are going to learn introduction part. So we'll start now. What do you mean by increasing and decreasing function? Geometrically I will first explain, then mathematical statement, then differentiation. So listen carefully. So increasing and decreasing function. So consider a function y is equal to f of x with a graph of this kind. ಈಗ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ನೋಡಿದ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಿ whether it is increasing or decreasing. Is it this function is increasing function? Absolutely no, only increases. ನೋಡಿದ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ it is an increasing function. If you don't know the graph, then it is very difficult to predict whether it is increasing or decreasing. For that we need differentiation. So if you know how to draw the graph, actually nothing is required to decide exactly whether the function is increases or not. So let us consider a graph y is equal to f of x, which is increasing. In the diagram ಹೇಗೆ ಕಾಣ್ತಿದೆ? Increasing ಅಲ್ವಾ? Yes. Now using this increasing function graph, I will explain or I will define what I mean by increasing function. So see here we can observe that, which I already told, increases. Now how then ಹೇಗೆ mathematically identify ಮಾಡೋದು? See this, take two elements in x-axis, x1 and x2. So like this, x1 and x2. He compare ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ definitely x1 is less than x2, right? No, x1 must be less than x2 because x1 comes first, x2 comes next. x-axis ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು first ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅದು less than the which is on next. So take two numbers on x-axis such that x1 is less than x2. Now how to find out f of x1? x1 ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, f of x1 ಹೇಗೆ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು? You should draw one vertical line ಅಲ್ವಾ to the curve ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಮೀಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ horizontal line. So this point is known f of x. ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಬರೀಬೇಕಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. So in first PUC also you learn linear inequality where you know how to draw the graph. So ಇದು x1 ಆದ್ರೆ ಇದೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? f of x1. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಅಲ್ವಾ? f of x2 ಹೇಗೆ? ಸೇಮ್. ಈಗ ಇದನ್ನು ಕಂಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ, which is more, which is less? Whichever comes above in y-axis, which is more than the number which is below that. So f of x1 is less than f of x2. So each case agodo, or this condition satisfies only for increasing function, or in particular this is holds only for strictly increasing function. So if this condition satisfies, then the graph is called strictly increasing function. Ee condition satisfy agtidre the graph is called strictly increasing function. Nenpirli, the graph is called strictly increasing function. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಈಸಿಲಿ ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು graphically, very easily you can identify, but every time this is not easy. ನೆನಪಿರಲಿ, the graphical method, if the function is very simple it's easy, but if the function is very complicated this is not easy. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರೋದು? But the original method, the first basic method to identify whether the function is increases or decreases is a graphical method. So for this graph, if this condition satisfies, then it is called strictly increasing function. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಗೆ ಹೋಗೋಣ. Yes, next, for example, I'll explain again the same concept by taking an example. Consider graph y is equal to x. You know how to draw this graph. You wrote this graph in first PUC. You learned this graph in first PUC. ಯಾವ್ದು ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ? What is the name of this function? Very good, identity function alva. So I have to draw the graph of this function. You know identity function is always passes through origin y is equal to x. ನೋಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಿ ಏನು? This is strictly increasing. Strictly increasing ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು? Actually no decreases anywhere, or it will not stop anywhere, only increases. Strictly increasing means only increasing. Correct? Very good. So let me consider a graph which is strictly increasing. Already you know this about this graph. So only we are verifying that statement which I did in the last slide whether it's right or wrong. So x1 x2 ತಗೊಳ್ತೆ, x1 in 1, x2 in 3. So you will agree that x1 is less than x2. Fine. Now what is f of x1? It is 1. what is f of x2? 3. ಯಾವ್ದು ದೊಡ್ಡದು? f of x2 is ದೊಡ್ಡದು ಅಲ್ವಾ? So you can observe that 1 is less than 3. Okay, that is f of x1 is 1 is less than f of x2, which is equal to 3. So condition satisfies. So it is called strictly increasing function. Graph ನೋಡಿದ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, but if you can't say okay through the graph whether it is strictly increases or not, you can check like this. Take some elements. 1 and 3 is not fixed. You can take 2 and 4, you can take 3 and 5, anything, any two elements, such that if x1 is less than x2, then f of x1 is less than f of x2, then that function is called strictly increasing function. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? Yes, very good. So next, yeah, strictly increasing admi yaad barlebeko, strictly decreasing. So now explanation for strictly decreasing. Remember, I didn't start using the differentiation. Before using differentiation, you should know exactly mathematically what you mean by strictly increasing, increasing, strictly decreasing and decreasing. Okay, for that these are the explanation. Yeah, consider this graph. You can tell definitely that this graph is strictly decreasing. Strictly and then only decreasing. Then strictly word is directly connected to only decreasing. Only decreasing meaning gottidalva? Ali you can use only word decreasing. You can't say it is not decreasing, it is increasing. Such things are not allowed. Only in decreasing. Yeah, fine. Now you can observe in this graph that if x1 is less than x2, alva, x1 is less than x2, is it the same condition maintained here? No. Same andre f of x1 ಇದೆ. g of x1 is greater than g of x2. ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳಿ? See x1 ಇಲ್ಲಿದೆ. ಇದು g of x1. For the x2, what is g of x2? It is below g of x1. g of x2 is below g of x1. So even if x1 is less than x2, okay, f of x1 is not less than f of x2. Instead of that, what we have? f of x1 or g of x1 is more than g of x2. So if this condition satisfies, we say that the function is strictly decreasing. Same, x1 is less than x2, g of x1 is greater than g of x2. Then it is called strictly decreasing function. Strictly decreasing function mathematically defined ಮಾಡೋದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ? ಯಾವಾಗ if these two conditions satisfies, then that function is strictly decreasing function. ನೆನ್ಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೋದಲ್ವಾ? This is required to connect differentiation to increasing decreasing. ನೆನಪಿಲ್ಲಿ, this is required to connect differentiation to increasing decreasing. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? Shall I move next slide? Very good. Now consider a graph y is equal to f of x. See ಎಷ್ಟು ಟೈಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಯ್ತು? ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಸೊ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬರೋದು ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್. ಓಕೆ, ಹಾ, ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಗ್ರಾಫ್. ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಏನ್ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ? ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ 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 ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್, ಸ್ಟಾಪ್, ಅಗೇನ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ 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 ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ವರ್ಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್? No, because at this particular point it is neither increases nor decreases, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತು ಹೇಳ್ತಿರೋದು? So such functions are called only increasing, increasing. Strictly word and not allowed. Strictly word is not allowed. Word we can use is only increasing. Okay, so consider such graph. I plotted some points. Okay, observe, I'll explain this. So here take x1 is less than, first you take this, x1 is less than x2, then f of x1 is less than f of x2. Okay, fine, ಅಲ್ಲೇನು ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಈ ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ x1 x2 ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು, ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ನಾಟ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್. ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ? ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ನಾಟ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, f of x1 f of x2 ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮರ್ಜ್ ಆಗಿದಲ್ವಾ? ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಲೆಸ್ ದ್ಯಾನ್, it is not only less than, it is less than or equal. So if x1 is less than x2, if x1 is less than x2, then f of x1 is less than or equal to x2. f of x1 is less than or equal to x2. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? So if this condition satisfies, if x1 is less than x2 implies f of x1 is less than or equal to f of x2, then that function is known as increasing function. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಡ್ ಎಲ್ಲೋ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳಿಸಿ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೋತ್ತಿಗೆ ಏನಾಯ್ತು, ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್, ನೈದರ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಸ್. ಮತ್ತೆ ಪುನಃ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತಿಲ್ಲ. ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್, ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ವರ್ಡ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಇನ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್, ಸೊ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್. ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ಎಫ್ ಆಫ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್. ಓಕೆ, ದ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್, consider graph y is equal to g of x, graph 4, okay, like this. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ see ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಏನಿದೆ, decreasing, but ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ it is neither decreases nor increases. Okay, so this is a graph which explain decreasing, only decreasing. Okay, so same observation, if x1 is less than x2, g of x1 ಈ ಎರಡು ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ f of x1 ಓಕೆ g ಬೇಕಂತಲೇ f ಅಂತಲೇ ಇರಲಿ f of x1 greater than f of x2 ಬಟ್ ಈ ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು f of x1 equal to f of x2 so strictly greater than ಇದ್ರೆ strictly decreasing greater than or equal ಇದ್ರೆ it is decreasing confusion ಆಯ್ತಾ so ಎಷ್ಟು ಟರ್ಮ್ ಇದೆ strictly increasing strictly decreasing ನಾಲ್ಕು ಟರ್ಮ್ ಇದೆ ನೆನಪಿರಲಿ okay so if this condition satisfies ಅಂದ್ರೆ if f of x1 is less than x2 then g of x1 is greater than or equal only greater than ಇದ್ರೆ ಏನು it is strictly decreasing greater than or equal ಇದ್ರೆ g of x1 is greater than or equal to g of x2 ಇದ್ರೆ it is decreasing function ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಸೊ ಎಷ್ಟು ಟರ್ಮ್ ಡಿಫೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ 4 ಟರ್ಮ್ which are the 4 terms strictly increasing less than only less than increasing less than or equal strictly decreasing greater than strictly only decreasing greater than or equal ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿದಿರಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಸೊ ವಿ ಡಿಫೈನ್ 4 ಡಿಫರೆಂಟ್ ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ಇದು ಯಾವ್ದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಬರಲ್ಲ ಬಟ್ without this definition you cannot connect or you cannot understand how derivative will help you to identify the function is increasing or strictly increasing decreasing or strictly decreasing ಈ definition compulsory ಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಸೊ ನೆನಪಿರಲಿ ಸೊ 4 ಟರ್ಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ಡಿಫೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ okay important remember it okay so now I'm going to show you okay or I'm going to use the concept which we used in the previous slides in the derivatives okay now in particular one more concept is that okay increasing and decreasing at the particular point in last slide ಹೇಗೆ ನೋಡಿ ಒಂದು ಇಂಟರ್ವಲ್ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ ಜನರಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ whether the function is increases or strictly increases decreases or strictly decreasing now we have to check at one particular point at x equal to a one particular point ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಚೆಕ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನಂತರ we can use the differentiation okay see increasing decreasing at particular point that is important consider strictly increasing function y is equal to f of x okay graph you know so consider increasing function y is equal to f of x I hope you know this picture because already explained in the previous slide now suppose you want to check whether the function strictly increases functions at x equal to a suppose you want to check whether the function is strictly increases at one particular point at x equal to a okay then I'll tell you what you should do you should take the neighborhood of a ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಏನು the numbers which is very close to a for example if you want to check at x equal to 2 a plus h and a minus h are 2.01 maybe 1.9 ಅಂದ್ರೆ values ತಗೊಳ್ತಿಲ್ಲ it should be around 2 ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ so if you want to check at one particular point you take the values which is more than a and less than a and very close to a more than a less than a and very close to a so this h is very small ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಸಣ್ಣ ತಗೊಂಡು ನಿಮಗೆ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಕಾಣಲ್ಲ ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ತಗೊಂಡೇನೆ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಆಗಬೇಡಿ h is very small maybe 0.1 h is 0.01 or 0.001 or 0.1 so ಈಗ 2 ಆದ್ರೆ ಇದು 2.01 ಇರಬಹುದು ಇದು 1.99 ಇರಬಹುದು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರೋದು ತುಂಬಾ ಗ್ಯಾಪ್ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ ನೇಬರ್ಹುಡ್ ಓಕೆ ಸೊ ಟೇಕ್ a minus h and a plus h increment and decrement a small amount to a then find out its f of a minus h f of a plus h ಈ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ವಾ ಈ ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ how to identify mathematically whether the function is strictly increasing at x equal to a see I'll show you now if the function is strictly increasing function at x equal to a then this condition a minus h is less than a plus h for this condition what is the relation between f of these numbers tell me where h is a very small increment that I already told how the f of these numbers are related ಯಾವುದು ಮೇಲಿದೆ y axis ಅಲ್ಲಿ f of a plus h ಯಾವುದು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಳಗಿದೆ f of a minus h the largest value is f of a plus h least value is f of a minus h and in between you will get one number f of a so to say a function is strictly increasing function at x equal to a if this condition satisfies if a minus h is less than a plus h then compulsory e condition satisfied again condition f of a minus h is less than f of a is less than f of a plus h so e condition satisfied we say that the function is strictly increasing function at x is equal to a at x is equal to a ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? So I'll show you again, I'll explain again. When this condition implies this condition, we say that the function is strictly increasing at x equal to a. ಇದೇ ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಇದನ್ನ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕೆ ಯಾವ್ದು ಬೇಕು? ನಾವು ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತೋರಿಸಿದಲ್ಲ, x1 is less than x2, f of x1 is less than f of x2. ಈ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಬಂದು ಆ ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಇಂದ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಈ ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ, where I'm going to show you how to use a differentiation. Okay, so next slide. Now consider dy by dx. I told you the previous slide then first last slide ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. So now last slide concept ಅನ್ನ I'm going to use in this slide, where I'm going to show you how differentiation is useful to check whether the function is strictly increasing or not without writing graph. ಅದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೂ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಬರೀಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಬರೀದೇ ಒಂದು ಕಷ್ಟದ ಕೆಲಸ ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ. ಸೊ ವಿದೌಟ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ದ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎನಿ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಯೂಸಿಂಗ್ ದ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸಿಯೇಷನ್ very easily you can identify the function is increases or not. That I'm going to show you in this slide. Now consider dy by dx. First principal formula ನೆನಪಿದೆಯಾ? What is the first principal formula at x equal to a? Limit h tends to 0. Recall, f of a plus h minus f of a divided by h. In ನೆನಪಿದೆಯಲ್ವಾ? First principal method which you learn in first PUC only. So now I am using this to show how derivative works to check whether the function is increases or not. Okay, say this. Consider a function which is strictly increasing at x equal to a. Or if f of x is strictly increasing at x equal to a, then let us see what will happen to this expression. Let us see what will happen to this expression. See this. According to the previous slide, f of a plus h is greater than f of a, or if this is less than f of a minus h. adu bekandire because f of a minus h illilla, nam bekirodu idar relation. Now if the function is strictly increasing at x equal to a, we already saw in the previous slide we saw this. If you want I'll show you again. So see this once adu bekagate. F of a plus h is greater than f of a. F of a plus h is greater than f of a. So if the function increases at x equal to a, then f of a plus h is greater than f of a. Now substitute this in the expression. Limit h tends to 0. First term greater than second term. Difference should be positive. H is an increment. That is called increment. Increment cannot be negative, so it must be positive. The ratio of two positive number must be positive. So which is positive? Dy by dx at x equal to a is greater than 0. So this is a condition actually. If you get the dy by dx at one particular point is greater than 0 for any function, then that function is called strictly increasing function at x equal to a. ನಿಮ್ಗಿರೋ ಕೆಲಸ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿ? ಒಂದು ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದು ಅದು ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಷನ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು. Suppose you want to check whether the function is strictly increasing at x equal to 2. After differentiation substitute x equal to 2. A number positive ಬಂದ್ರೆ confirm that it is strictly increasing function. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಹೇಳ್ತಿರೋದು? ಬೇರೆ ಏನೂ ಮಾಡಿ ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಬರೀಬೇಕಂತಿಲ್ಲ, ಬೇರೇನು ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ನೋ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ದ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ at any cost. Any other way, just differentiate, put x equal to a, check whether that is greater than 0 or less than 0 or equal to 0. Suppose it is greater than 0, strictly increasing function. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಹೇಳೋದು? ಇದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್, ಇದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ದ ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ ಏನು ಬಂದಿರೋದು ಟೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬುಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನ್ ಟು ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್. So at the end, the conclusion you remember, if the function is strictly increasing function at x equal to a, then differentiation of the function at x equal to a must be greater than 0. So I hope you can remember. I'll repeat, this is an important question. Yes, next. So the same concept. ಈ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೆನಪಿಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಬೇಕಿದ್ದು conclusion ಇದು important. For example, consider the function y is equal to 2x. Even that is also passes through origin. You know that f of x is equal to x. You know this strictly increasing. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಬೇಕಾದ ತಗೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಇದು strictly increasing. What is the differentiation of f of x? Differentiation of f of x is 2 and it is always greater than 0. This is a proof. ನೀವು ಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಬರೀಬೇಕಂದಿಲ್ಲ, ಡಯಾಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಬರೀಬೇಕಂದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬೇರೆ ಏನೋ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲನೇಷನ್ ಬರೀಬೇಕಂದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ದಟ್ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ರೈಟ್ ದ ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಷನ್ ದಟ್ ದಿಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ is strictly increasing. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತು ಹೇಳಿ? ದಿಸ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್ is strictly increasing. Therefore f of x is strictly increasing everywhere. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತು ಹೇಳ್ತಿರೋದು? f of x strictly increasing everywhere. Now this is about strictly increasing function. Now the next concept is increasing but not strictly. Okay, see this. ಅದನ್ನು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಇಂದ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಜನರಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಕ್ವಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳಿಬಿಡ್ತಾನೆ. Similarly, if f of x is increasing function at x equal to a, then increasing function, not strictly increasing, a minus h is less than a plus h implies ಏನಿದೆ, f of a minus h is less than or equal to f of a less than or equal to f of a plus h ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಇದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ನಾನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಲೆಸ್ ದನ್ ಆರ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಬೈ ಇನ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ವರ್ಡ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಆದಾಗ ಇಟ್ ಮೇ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಗೇನ್ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಸ್. ನೆನಪಿದೆಲ್ಲ ಗ್ರಾಫ್, ಲೆಸ್ ದನ್ ಆರ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಏನು, ಸೊ dy by dx ಲಿಮಿಟ್ x ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಟು ಲಿಮಿಟ್ h ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಟು 0 f of a plus h minus f of a by h. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಏನ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಸಿ ಇದು ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, f of a plus h ಮೇ ಬಿ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ f of a, ಆ ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು 0 ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ. ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಗ್ರೇಟರ್ ದೆನ್ positive. So if f of a plus h is equal to f of a, then what you will get 0. Correct? Illi less than or equal ide, equal to 0, or it is strictly greater than. Suppose f of a plus h is greater than f of a, ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಹೇಳಿ, greater than 0. ಇದನ್ನ ಹೇಗೆ ಕಂಬೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ, you can combine like this. F of x is increasing, remember strictly word illa, increasing function at x equal to a, then f dash of a is greater than or equal to 0, then f dash of a is greater than or equal to 0. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್, ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೇಟರ್ ದನ್ 0, ಸಾರಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರೇಟರ್ ದನ್ 0, ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಗ್ರೇಟರ್ ದನ್ ಆರ್ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಟು 0. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ? ಸೊ ಲೈಕ್ ದಿಸ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಕನೆಕ್ಟ್ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸಿಯೇಷನ್ ಟು ಇನ್ಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಕ್ರೀಸಿಂಗ್ ಫಂಕ್ಷನ್. ಸೊ ರಿಮೆಂಬರ್ ದಿಸ್ sentence. I hope you understood. So remaining strictly decreasing and decreasing, I'll continue in the next video. Thank you.